Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into one of the coolest aspects of Anime Multiverse, traits. Now, while powers are the big draw of the game, traits are right up there, giving those powers an extra boost. They're the secret sauce that can make your character go from good to great, but here's the kicker. Getting the right traits isn't easy. They're a bit of a grind to find, and sometimes you can spend ages searching for the perfect one to pair with your power. But don't worry, I've got you covered. In this video, we're breaking down the Anime Multiverse traits tier list so you can see which ones will make your character a powerhouse. Plus, I'll walk you through a reroll guide to help you maximize your chances of getting the traits that suit your playstyle. So if you've ever been stuck trying to find that perfect trait to match your power, stick around because we're about to make your life a whole lot easier. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking traits in Anime Multiverse. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos. Thanks.
The traits in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Force 1, Piercing 1, and Haste 1. Alright, so let's talk about D tier traits in Anime Multiverse. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. D tier? Ugh, who wants those? And yeah, you're right. These traits aren't exactly the flashiest or the most exciting, but hear me out, they can actually help when you're just starting out and need that little push to get things rolling. Take Force 1 for example. It gives you a solid 5% extra damage. It's not a game changer, but when you're early in the game, every little boost counts, right? Just don't get too comfy with these traits because you'll definitely want to reroll once you've stacked up enough trait shards. Then there's Piercing 1, which boosts penetration by 10%. This can be a nice little advantage when you're facing enemies with high defense. Not the best, but it will get you through the early stages when you don't have much else going for you. And of course, Haste 1, which reduces spawn time by 5%, is like having a slight edge when things start ramping up. It's a little bit of a time saver, but again, not the best. All in all, D tier traits are good for starters, but remember, you won't want to hold on to them for too long. Reroll and aim higher when you can. The traits in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Force 2, Haste 2, Piercing 2, and Siphon. Let's talk about the C tier traits in Anime Multiverse. Now, I know this isn't the most exciting tier, but hey, not all traits are made equal, right? While some traits in this tier might seem like they're just there for show, a couple of them can still pack a punch if you know how to use them. The two standouts that I'd say are worth your attention are Force 2 and Siphon. Trust me, these can really make a difference in certain situations. Starting with Force 2, this one is pretty straightforward. It gives you a solid 10% damage boost. Sure, it's not game-changing, but when you're looking to squeeze every bit of extra damage out of your characters, this can be a great option. Especially if you don't have access to higher tier traits, this boost can help you deal with enemies a bit faster. It's a great middle ground for those mid-game moments when you're not quite at the top yet, but still need a solid damage increase. Then there's Siphon. This one's an epic trait, and it offers a 35% XP boost, which is absolutely clutch when you're grinding and trying to level up your characters. If you're all about progression, this trait is a no-brainer. You're not necessarily going to be dealing massive amounts of damage, but you'll be leveling up a lot faster, and that's going to set you up for success later on. If you've got characters that need a bit of help catching up, Siphon can be your best friend. The rest of the traits in this tier, like Piercing 2 and Haste 2, don't quite live up to the same level of usefulness. Piercing 2 gives you a 15% increase in penetration, but it's not enough to really shift the tide of battle. And while Haste 2 can cut down your spawn time by 7.5%, that's not the kind of edge you want to rely on for long-term success. Stick with Force 2 and Siphon, and you'll get a bit more value out of this tier. The traits in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Arcane, Executioner, Force 3, Haste 3, and Piercing 3. Alright, let's talk about some of the traits in the B tier in Anime Multiverse. Now, you might not be looking at these traits as the game changers, but trust me, when used right, they can make a huge difference in battle. First up, we've got Executioner, and this trait is the real MVP when it comes to finishing off low health enemies. If you catch someone below 30% HP, boom, you're dealing 20% extra damage. It's perfect for those final blows, especially when you're surrounded by enemies and you need that extra edge to clean up. But don't sleep on Arcane, either. If you've got the right setup, it can be incredibly powerful. The 35% mana regeneration is a game changer, and with that 10% decrease in mana consumption, you can keep your spells firing off without worrying too much about running dry. But there's a little catch. If you don't manage your mana well, it can disappear quickly, so be careful when stacking those power slots or you'll find yourself out of juice just when you need it most. Next, there's Force 3, which is all about that raw damage. 15% more damage is nothing to scoff at, especially when you're dealing with tougher opponents. It's a solid trait to have if you're looking to increase your overall damage output and get more bang for your buck when it comes to combat. This one pairs nicely with traits like Executioner, since you'll be hitting harder, making those finishing moves even sweeter. And last but not least, we have Piercing 3. If you've ever faced off against armored or high defense enemies, you know how important this trait is. 25% increased penetration means you're bypassing some of that pesky defense, getting through tougher targets with ease. Combine this with a damage trait like Force 3, and you've got a deadly combo that can cut through anything. So, while the B tier traits might not be the flashiest, don't underestimate their potential to turn the tide in your favor when used strategically. The traits in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Cripple, Fury, Sunder, and Wraith. Let's talk about some of the best traits in Anime Multiverse and how they stack up against each other. If you're looking to maximize your damage potential, you've probably come across a few legendary and mythic traits, but today we're going to focus on why Sunder, despite its mythic status, falls just shy of being the ultimate power player. First up, we have Cripple. This legendary trait is actually a fan favorite for a reason. It boosts your damage against shattered enemies by 30%, which can be a game changer when you're up against certain bosses or tough enemies. But the real kicker is the 1.25x damage over time, DOT. Combine this with a penetrative power and you've got yourself a beastly combo that can do some serious work. This is why Cripple holds such a strong spot in the A tier, even if it's not quite the go-to trait for every scenario. Then there's Fury, another legendary trait, and it offers a solid 25% decrease in spawn time. This means you're getting more enemies to farm quicker, which is perfect for grinding. While not as flashy as the others, its utility is undeniable, and it works wonders when you're aiming to boost your overall resource collection rate or simply looking for more chaos on the battlefield. It's all about making sure you're always in the thick of the action. Now, we get to Sunder, which is where things get interesting. Despite being a mythic trait, Sunder just doesn't quite hit the same power spike as Cripple or Wraith. It gives you a solid 12.5% damage boost and 75% penetration, but when you compare it to the other traits that have higher multipliers or more specialized effects, it falls a bit short in versatility. If you're looking for raw damage output against bosses, Cripple or Wraith might serve you better. But hey, if you're set up with a penetrative power, Sunder can still come in clutch, so don't sleep on it too much. In the grand scheme of things, these traits all have their moments to shine. It really comes down to what kind of build you're going for and how you want to tackle the challenges ahead in Anime Multiverse. So, what's your favorite trait and how do you use it? The traits in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Champion, Ethereal, and Precision. Alright, let's talk about that trait in Anime Multiverse that everyone's chasing, the one that practically makes your character an unstoppable force. I'm talking about Champion. With a roll chance so low, you think it was a myth, but if you get your hands on it, oh boy, you're in for a treat. It boosts your damage by an insane 275%, but, and here's the catch, your spawn time increases by 50%. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but the real magic happens when you stack it with Fury or any version of Haste. If you can work around that spawn time issue, you're looking at some seriously monstrous damage numbers. Then there's Ethereal, another mythic trait, but with a very different vibe. Sure, it doesn't give you the insane damage boost like Champion, but it makes up for it in a different way. You get a solid 25% boost to damage, plus 15% penetration to help you break through those tough defenses. The best part? A 20% decrease in spawn time, so while you're not hitting as hard as Champion would allow, you're hitting more often. This one's perfect if you're looking to be quick and consistent rather than an all-out damage machine. Now, if you're all about those critical hits, then Precision is where it's at. This mythic trait is a game changer when it comes to increasing your critical rate. With a 45% increase, you're going to see those juicy crits pop up a lot more often. And not only that, but you also get a nice little bump to your critical damage, making every crit even sweeter. It's perfect for characters that rely on landing those big hits to turn the tide of battle. So, which one should you go for? Well, it really depends on your playstyle. If you love big numbers and don't mind a little extra wait time, Champion is a no-brainer. If you're more about speed and consistency, Ethereal is the way to go. And if you've got a thing for those massive critical hits, Precision will make sure you're critting like a pro. Whatever you choose, these traits will definitely make your characters shine in the Anime Multiverse. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.